right, here is our Lady Talk number 2. I'm here with my friend Hyla. Hey Hyla.
Hi.
And thank you for joining me on your couch for our lady chat. These are casual, real talks, woman to woman. And for this particular conversation, we're going to focus on labor and delivery. More importantly, and quite specifically, Hyla and I were talking about, like what we really just wish someone would get right to the point about, and that is dealing with the pain. And I feel like a lot of times in prenatal yoga, like we don't say dealing with the pain because we're like, oh, that has a negative connotation.
Let's not say the word pain.
Yeah, or let's not say dealing because we're embracing and we're coping, and yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, it's okay to talk about, like, this is why I love these chats. It's like real talk. You and I had communicated, and recently you emailed me like a short list of like things that have been on your mind that we could talk about, and tools for dealing with the pain is on that list, and it's on every woman's list. So I thought we might just kind of go through some of the yogic tools, prenatal yoga tools, and then I'm curious to see what other things you've learned in your birthing class thus far, or maybe from other women or your mother. And then, we might even come up with our own, or we might inspire the women watching to formulate their own plans of attack to deal with the pain or cope with the pain or embrace.
Whatever.
So I was just going to start off with kind of the big picture, which I think is really actually a powerful tool, and that is, of course, the mind. And I don't want to get all crazy, crunchy yoga on you, but man, I mean, we know this, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah,
like,
it's a real thing.
The mind is such an amazing and scary, powerful tool, pregnant or not pregnant,
You can convince yourself of all kinds of things.
Totally. Trust us.
Good or bad.
It's totally okay to do. Any thoughts on that? Just about your experience thus far, and kind of like noticing when your mind over matter. And I don't think we necessarily even have to talk about all the positive things. I mean, share whatever you're willing to share, but like it's real talk, like noticing, when the mind gets the best of you, and noticing when you can also perhaps use the breath and just slowing things down to relieve that crazy monkey mind anxiety that I'm sure is coming up more and more as you approach your due date. I mean, I don't know, but I can assume.
No, yeah, it definitely is. Definitely get a lot of, and I think it's probably because physically the lungs are collapsed and squished outwards. So like deep breathing is actually really, really relaxing. And it might be partly because you are concentrating on something besides whatever your brain is telling you to concentrate on. Mm-hmm. It's just something else to focus on. But also like it's getting like this influx of oxygen, and it's like, so your muscles are able to kind of like relax a little bit maybe. Mm-hmm. So definitely notice benefits from just doing some heavy breathing.
Yeah, so the breath is like the number one tool that in my training, and we've talked about this through our practice, and I've just kind of coined it as like breath over asana. And so that the breath is kind of like the number one coin in your pocket when you enter the delivery room.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine taught me this cool thing where, because I was trying to like find things that the everyday woman, or just like that like we could attach to, or that we can like giggle at. And one thing that I remembered her telling me that I love was very simple. You think, so kind of going along these mantra lines too, you think re as you breathe in and lax as you breathe out. Just relax, So it's kind of hard to say out loud. It sounds kind of cheesy, but in your mind, if you close your eyes, you can try it and just think re as you breathe in and lax as you breathe out. And it did have this really calming effect over the mind. I mean, it seems so obvious, but I mean, it was like, it worked,
Yeah.
And I think that anything rhythmic, I mean, we talk about this in the birthing classes, and And that's kind of like the doula's job, is to keep
reminding you to stay on this
on
rhythm.
this rhythm, as opposed to letting that mind, because ultimately the mind is so freaking powerful. So using the rhythm of the breath and rhythm of mantra to, just keep that.
Something else that helps
Whoa.
me sometimes, not specifically with being pregnant, but the relax just reminded me of it, is like picturing the breath in my nose, down through the lungs, and then back out.
Awesome. Which totally brings us to the next topic of visualization, which can be a big turnoff. Like if you're reading in a book, I mean, I'm just being real. Like for a lot of women, it's enticing, and for a lot of women, it's like you kind of skip past that.
I'm generally a skipper of that.
So, but I'm here to say, hold on, let's see if we can use that, because that is, you might not be visualizing your cervix opening like a blossoming flower,
right?
But if you're but you're going to allow release of the cervix to open if you are focusing on a visualization that works for you. So,
no, but that's actually a great point. Visualizing the cervix.
That's actually
in the birthing class. Yeah. Well, the birthing class, she kind of suggested like visualize an easy birth, like visualize the baby coming out. And it reminded me too of like whenever we used to choreograph dances. And like I would just spend a lot of time visualizing myself doing it awesomely. Like totally kicking ass at that dance.
Yeah.
And then when I'd go do it the next day, I would actually be better.
Yeah. And this is like so awesome and beautiful to me, because like this is how I was raised, and this is also how I like still run my life now. Is like, it's kind of like if you visualize it, if you dream it, it will come. And even like even as a young person, like applying to colleges, or I'm an actor, like getting roles back in the day, like my mom always said, and I still give my actor friends this advice, like imagine when you go in there, like imagine you've already got the role, like imagine it. And in my classes now, when I teach public yoga classes, often when we set our intentions, I kind of ask people to repeat their intention, and then I'm like, consider it already done. In fact, imagine what it feels like to have it already done, already so. And this goes back to like the power of the mind, like and when I worked at a high school, I would share that with the kids too. I'm like, well, you keep telling me, if you keep saying I'm fat, I'm ugly, like now we're all starting to see you as fat and ugly, and you're beautiful, so
yeah.
So anyway, getting back to
my cervix,
you and your cervix, I think the power of visualization should not be written off. This is ultimately the power of the mind, the power of word, the power of thought, and we don't have to wait till, in fact, we should not wait until D-Day to start trying to dream up, what's my affirmation, what's my mantra, what's my visual, like start to get, those thoughts percolating now, because then it'll be easier. And maybe talk to your partner about what that could be, even if you guys do it over a laugh over
Yeah, we
dinner.
actually did the other day, like practice sort of like labor drill. Like, okay, what's going to happen if,
you guys would call it labor drill. I love it.
What happens if my water breaks while we're watching a movie? Do we finish the movie? Do we call the doctor right away?
A, we finish the movie. B, we call the doctor. Roll the dice.
But stuff like that actually does help you be prepared when the time comes, and you might be like panicking or like forgetting what you meant to be doing. Like if you've practiced doing those breathing exercises, then when the time comes and you're like really hurting, it's almost like muscle memory that you can depend on.
Yeah. And you're not searching for
what do I do?
Lost
How do I
items in a
fix
moment.
this?
Yeah. You have this nice little comfy, tool belt. And your partner, can help you with that too. And we'll talk about that more later. But I mean, when your mind starts to take off, then hopefully they can be there to remind you like of all of these beautiful tools that we've been putting in the box. Going back to the blossoming flower image of the cervix, though, I think that a lot of women, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, have said that they will have like not paid attention to like affirmations like open, 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 and then end up in the delivery room totally doing what they thought they wouldn't, so might as well just embrace it early on, because it's going to happen. You're going to want those things. And so that was just one that I kept hearing about, was just simply the word open, like the repetition
open
of
and relax.
Open. In a previous chat, we talked about, building those muscles so that we can stay vertical. I mean, that's kind of another chat, but if you are able to get vertical for some of the time, then obviously that's going to relieve a little bit of pain and probably reduce the time of your labor.
Focusing on an item, some people recommend like you bring something to the hospital with you, like a painting or a plant or something, so you have something to focus your eyes on.
I love that.
My mom said for her, both times, she found it much easier to close her eyes and breathe, and like having her eyes open was more of a distraction.
Too much.
Yeah.
That sounds like me.
I know, me too. I'm like, I feel like when I close my eyes, just picture whatever I want, even if it's just my stupid breath going in and out. But like,
well, and also it's easier to go inward, especially in this day and age when we kind of close the eyes. But have it all. Yeah. Let's be ready, girl. Let's have something to put on the wall, just in case.
But yeah, especially because we're doing a hospital birth. I can, and they've said, there's going to be several people in the room. You probably don't know any of them. Mm-hmm. So like there's a lot of commotion compared to like a home birth or a birthing center. So yeah, I could see it. I think I probably will just want to close my eyes and go in.
I'm curious, if you don't mind me asking, what was the conversation like with you and Chris when you were considering like what kind of birth?
That was not. I always wanted to do it at a hospital, just because, like all the women I know that did either birthing center or home birth, like half of them ended up emergency trip to the hospital. Like, let's just start at the hospital. I think if I had like one good natural birth under my belt, I would definitely consider doing a home birth or birthing center for a future child. Like once I'm like, all right, I got this. I know what to expect, and my body's done it once and it's been fine.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm always fascinated by that conversation because I haven't done that yet, and you kind of always, well, every woman's different, but me personally, like I have no idea. Like I like to imagine this one thing, but I just know that whenever that time comes, if that time comes, that I'll know then. Like there's no way of knowing now. So, and maybe this project too will inspire cool conversations among women.
It's definitely worth a conversation.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So going back really quickly to the topic of dealing with the pain, another thing that we probably all know, but it's worth mentioning just in case, is applying warmth. And we can talk about that more when we talk about Chris
and what his job's gonna be. Get to work.
I mean, I think that's a really big one for pain, and it's such a simple thing. A friend of mine was telling me about a wheat germ or a wheat bag?
Oh, rice. You could do it with rice, dry rice.
Yeah, you like heat it up and it's nice and firm and
and even heat.
Yeah,
and it holds
so that's
heat for
awesome for, of course, lower back, for anything back. The shower, warm shower. Have they talked about that in your birthing class? I'm just curious.
They mentioned like the water bath, like the water birth where they do it.
And the warm pool, There are a lot of awesome statistics about women and just body and pain.
It's very relaxing. Like it's going to relax your muscles. And like if you can relax all these muscles to just let that baby out, then that'd be better.
Bath, yeah. That's fascinating to me too. But if you're not doing the birthing pool, then warm
compresses.
Wheat bag.
Yeah.
Hot water bottle.
Warm washcloth.
And then massage.
Yes.
So massaging the back. We don't have to get into this, but there's all kinds of awesome massages, even massages more like in the perineum and like before you're in the delivery room, kind of massaging and stretching those muscles. Now we're getting deep.
I realized this by accident, like maybe a month ago, but like these underneath, like, it feels so good to just like gently kind of like rub those little muscles under there. Because I guess the ones on the bottom are probably the ones that are getting the most workout, like having to hold this fat, chubby baby.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, it feels good.
And so that's something that, you know, your partner can do, but that's really something that I think you can do too, as a way of connecting to yourself. And if you're, you know, lying on the couch or feeling anxiety, or you can start giving yourself a nice little rub. Mm-hmm. I actually, this is not prenatal yoga topic, but I cracked my tailbone a couple years back. I don't know if you remember that. Mm-hmm. It was awful.
Yeah.
And it was odd and it was weird. It was vulnerable, obviously. It was like my coccyx and my butthole, essentially, you know, but it got all that muscle tissue got so tight around the perineum and all, like, even around, like, the vaginal area that, I mean, it was just like, I don't even need to explain. I'm not even embarrassed about it anymore, but, like, I just had such trouble there for, like, a whole year, a year and a half. And ultimately, what ended up working the best was getting body work there, which is like, oh God, you know, like, hey, come rub my, you know, yeah, you're not my partner and I'm not pregnant, but do you mind? But it really, like, tipped me off to something like, oh yeah, like, just because those are, especially in our culture, like, muscles that are
your dirty muscles.
Yeah, you're dirty. You know, like, man, we need to apply some love there. So, you know, some women might, feel like that's distasteful, but I think that we don't talk about it now, but it's worth researching kind of perineum massage and vagina massage. Hey-o. And then just going back to the breath, just since we're talking about dealing with the pain, like breath, rhythmic breathing, that relaxed breath, visualizing the breath, and knowing that breath and massage is going to release the natural painkillers too, you know?
Right,
like,
right.
And that's not to be forgotten, I think. All right, well, that's all for the dealing with the pain chat today, unless you have anything else on your mind, my friend.
I'll probably have some great ideas after I've done it.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Right now we're promoting our post videos already. Anyway, I love you so much.
I love you.
Namaste.